Trump won the election. I had removed myself from the political conversation by that time, but I did have friends on either side of the fence, some who were passionately against Trump and others passionately for him. I was standing in the line at the grocery store, and I looked over on the magazine rack where Trump's face was looking at me from the cover of Time magazine. I immediately felt a deep sense of knowing, a positive vibration that ran through me and radiated from that image. I really didn't know what to make of it, but I understood at that time that Trump was good for the country. I remembered that event, even if I didn't share it or jump right back into politics. It wasn't until some years later I was attending a session on high strangeness hosted by the Parapsychological Association, and they were describing the various experiences of OBE and astral travel that young people were experiencing. One of the reports shared that Trump was a light worker. Even when that was said, something resonated within me again.
Now let's stop right there, because when people hear President Donald Trump, that provokes reactions one way or the other. So let's get this established right away. Are you a supporter of President Trump?
Yes, I believe that he is absolutely set by God as the one that's supposed to be leading our nation in this time. Absolutely.
Now, when did you realize that? When did you see he was God's choice?
Well, very, very early on. In fact, when he first announced his candidacy, literally that far back, both my wife and I said, he's the one that God has his hand upon. And I had a lot of prophetic friends. For instance, I had some prophetic friends that were saying Ted Cruz back in those days was supposed to be the ones. And I said, no, I said, the hand of God is on Donald Trump.
I'll talk about the last two parts of the dream. So the last two parts, I was in a cafeteria. And the cafeteria, everyone was wearing all white, and people were going through this cafeteria line. And as they were going through the line, the servants, who were very tall, they were wearing all white, they would know what you wanted before you ordered it. And that's, in a dream, I knew by discernment, by really revelation knowledge, that they were angelic beings. And when I got toward the end of the line, I realized that I wanted to order something else, and the angel knew exactly what I wanted. And my wife was in the dream with me, and she turned to me and said, the Bible from Donald Trump, you have to get the Bible. And as soon as my wife said that in the dream, I was transported to the White House. And when I was transported to the White House, there was a large security desk, and there were two very large Secret Service agents, but they were 8 feet tall. They were very tall. And so what ended up happening was I go to the security desk, I sign into the security desk, sign my name, and then I look toward the door. There's a huge door. It's a very tall door, unusual door, very narrow, and it was guarded by another huge Secret Service agent, which I knew was an angelic being. And so I looked into the camera above the door, and I said, Mr. President, I can't wait to meet you and to see this Bible. So when I go through the door, there's another security desk. And the man at the desk was someone that I knew growing up, a man named Victor. He was the security agent guarding that desk. And I tried to make small talk with him, but he was not having it. He said, the president will see you, very severe. And so I went down this corridor, and it wasn't the Oval Office. It was another office that looked like a private office for the president. There were large bookshelves. There was a fireplace there. And as I go around, he stands, when President Trump stands up, he's at least 8 to 10 feet tall, extremely tall, and very severe. It was very severe. And he says, let me show it to you. And he takes me to this round desk, very beautiful round desk with a huge ancient book on it, gold gilded pages, leather bound, looked like it was hundreds, maybe even thousands of years old, this book. And he turns the pages and he signs a huge signature in big letters, and he hands me this book. And immediately, well, two things happened. I sort of came out of the dream, but even while I was coming out of the dream, the Lord began to download things when I touched the book. And God said to me, he said, I've made him to be a protector of ancient foundations. And literally, when I came out of the dream, I had a total change of heart, a total change of, I never necessarily hated the president or anything like that, but there were certain things that would be said that would just make me cringe sometimes. And something happened after I had this dream. I just had this burden to pray like never before. I began to pray for him, intercede for him. And the more I began to intercede for him, the more I began to give the understanding of the dream, which I'll go right into that because this is so important. So the angels, right? These are heavenly messengers and ministers. They're servants, right? They're sent to minister. There is a host of angels on the earth right now who have been charged with the next several years of America and to protect those God has put in leadership who are going to be the stewards of this next season. And when I go to the White House, which is very profound, there are different layers of security, which also represent divine protection, angelic protection, because security is always in proportion to the level of threat, right? The higher the threat, the stronger the security. And so I knew that we are in a very serious time right now. There is a huge threat, not only a threat against the future of America, but I also believe in the natural, a threat against the life of the president. And I believe that God has released angelic hosts for protection, calling the church to intercede like never before, because those servants are also intercessors. They're those who have been sent to intercede for him. So, and God spoke to me, Sid, and he told me, he said, I've made him to be a protector of ancient foundations. And then he said this, which I've never mentioned anywhere else but on this interview. He said, honor him and I will honor you. And he took me to Isaiah 45.
Excuse me, do you think that was just for you or for every believer?
I believe every believer.
All right, go ahead.
Every single believer. I think it's really, really important. So, Sid, these ancient foundations, the Bible talks about not to remove the ancient landmark, right? And the consequences of removing the ancient landmark, which the ancient landmark is for spiritual protection. It's our covenant with God. And God showed me that the ancient foundations of prayer, of intercession, the Bible, Christianity, and covenant, because in 1776, when the United States of America became a nation, before they were 13 colonies that were independent, they became a nation and they adopted the Declaration of Independence and eventually the Constitution. This was based upon a divine inspiration. It was something that, of course, we don't put it equal to the Bible, but it was definitely divinely influenced. And it was the same document that became the basis during the Civil Rights Movement for the liberation of Black people in America. Martin Luther King didn't use something other than the Constitution. He invoked the Constitution.
So this is the word that I received from the Lord on the 3rd of October. Today, at 6:10 p.m., as I was about to iron my clothes, a strong presence of God came and filled that room. And I looked and I saw a saint appear in my room. and I recognized the saint to be Moses. He said, I've come to talk to you what you must speak in the meeting tonight. So he told me 5 things about the US. Number 1, now this also concerns the election. Number 1, the nation is at a crossroad. You are at a crossroad. A crossroad meaning a valley of decision. You are at a crossroad, which means you can either tip to the right or tip to the left. You make a wrong decision, you tip to the left. You make the right decision, you will tip to the right. You are at a crossroad. Number 2, they will have to decide if they want God to rule their nation through a leader whom He had chosen, or be led by a woman who is likened to the woman on the beast. You know, till this evening, 6:10, till 6:10 in this evening, I never had anything against Kamala Harris. I'm indifferent to anything, you know. But this word shook me. Now let me repeat again. They will have to decide if they want God to rule their nation through a leader whom He had chosen, or be led by a woman who is likened to the woman on the beast. You find this in Revelation chapter 17, verses 3 to 4, about a woman on the beast. Number 3, it is the good pleasure of the Father to give them 4 more good years of prosperity, respite, and joy in the Spirit. It is the good pleasure of the Father to give them 4 more good years of prosperity, respite, and joy in the Spirit. But, number 4, but they can choose the way of the world, to be like all other nations. The choice is still in your hands. You know, nobody is perfect in this world, right? Mr. Trump may not be the perfect man. His mouth, you know better, right? Honestly, in the natural, I would not vote for him. Honestly, in the natural. But he's God's chosen. Sometimes you need a character like that to carry out some very strong purposes.